Next up, for talks, we have Phoebe Wild. So Phoebe is a game developer, board game reviewer, and marketeer. She currently works for Visa Games and as their social media manager, and has done marketing and community engagement for their last 5 Kickstarter campaigns. Phoebe also runs the website Cardboard Vault and is founder of the board game clothing industry Ludo Cherry, which she is sporting this evening. As an avid gamer for 15 years, she is passionate about welcoming new players into the hobby and creating an inclusive community. When she's not pushing wooden cubes around, she can be found glued to her sewing machine or tending to her farm in Stardew Valley. Phoebe will be talking about marketing your brand and crowdfunding campaigns. Phoebe.
No, I'm just going to... Yep. I have notes that they're not suitable for other people. They're a mess. They only make sense to me. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, as Carl mentioned, I work for Bezier Games as my main job at the moment. So I've helped them with their last 4 Kickstarters doing social media, marketing, figuring out sponsorships and where to place ads and that kind of thing. So I'm just going to be talking a bit about how to, as a startup publisher, or if you're crowdfunding your first campaign, how to kind of build that audience and how to promote yourself without being spammy, how to get people engaged and actually just interested in your product and what you're trying to show them. So there's obviously a very different strategy if you're an established company. Like if you're Good Games, you already have a lot of games out, you already have a newsletter, you already have thousands of people who that gets sent out to. So in that case, you're looking at more brand building, and everything you do isn't necessarily about conversions and trying to get people to click a link or look at this review and look how good your game is. You're more trying to get people to be just aware of who you are. But what I'm mostly going to be talking about, as I said, is if you're starting from nothing, if you have this first game, and how do you get people to even care about that? Because everyone probably knows there's millions of games on Kickstarter right now. I think there's 10 going up every day based on the emails I get from someone's backing this game, someone's backing this game, and it's impossible to keep track of everything, honestly. So in that ocean of all these games out there, how do you get people to pay attention to what you have? So the first thing you have to think about, obviously, is what are you trying to do when you're marketing? What is your goal? Everything you do, every social media post, every newsletter you send out, you need to have some kind of goal in mind of why you're sending out that information. So are you trying to get people to click a link? Are you trying to get people to back your Kickstarter? Are you trying to get people just to share or engage or like your post so you can grow your audience? So everything you do, you have to think about, is this helping me achieve my goal of what you're trying to do? The other important thing I think with Kickstarter is, as I said, because there are so many games that you could back, so many things you could spend your money on, people are relying more and more and more on personal recommendations, whether that's a review channel, whether that's just word of mouth, Facebook groups and communities, other online communities. Most of the games I personally back now are either because I've seen people post about them in those communities, or a friend of mine has made a review video, or a friend of mine is involved in it somehow. And it's very rare that I will just browse Kickstarter because I could be there for 10 hours and spend all the money I have, and there's just infinite projects out there. So with that in mind, that it's very influencer based on reviews and recommendations, you need to find the people who will best represent your product. You need to get your game into their hands, and you need to figure out who will showcase the uniqueness and the value that your product has. Because you're personally very close to your product. You know why you think your game is awesome, right? Whether it's the theme, whether it's a unique mechanic, a unique component. But it's convincing other people that they should spend their money and their time on this thing that you think is awesome. So whatever channel you're looking at, you need to think about who is this game for, and who is going to best showcase the best sides of my game, and who's going to appreciate this. So I think that's one of the really important things to look at, is find the influencers within the tabletop industry, the reviewers, the people who are active in Facebook groups and Facebook communities, who can help spread the word about your product and grow your audience, and reach out to them, get them interested, and get them excited about it. Because it's this weird combination of, you need personal recommendations, you need social media reach, you need newsletters, you need ads, and then it all kind of culminates in this black magic where you'll either flop or you'll, overfund by 1,000%. And it's kind of a roll of the dice. But the more people you have talking about your game, the more people you have interested, you'll kind of capture this fear of missing out, which I think is a lot of what Kickstarter is now as well. It's this impulsive, emotional purchase rather than a rational buying decision. It's everyone is backing this game, everyone is excited about this game, so I'll have to back it, otherwise I'm going to miss out. Whether that's missing out on the Kickstarter exclusive, missing out on something that's maybe not going to be at retail, or just missing out on this game that everyone else is going to be playing in a year, and you're not going to have a copy of it. So I think that's one of the most important things is, find the people who will represent your product and get into their hands however you can. Like, contact them, reach out to them on Facebook, on their personal website, their personal email, if they have that online, and basically just say, hey, give them the sell sheet, give them the information about the game, and ask them if they'd be interested in reviewing it or organising a sponsorship for it. And that's a really important thing that can kind of make or break whether your game hits it off on Kickstarter. The other huge thing is obviously social media. So having a presence on social media is really important, because that's where a lot of people will find out information about games. Unless they're browsing either Kickstarter or Board Game Geek regularly, it's going to be Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is where people are going to see information about your games, whether that's you posting it or other people talking about it. So you need to be consistently active on as many of those as you can manage realistically with all the other commitments in your life. Like, I do social media management. It's a 20-hour-a-week job just to manage those 3 channels, Board Game Geek and our general marketing efforts. So I know it's really, really difficult to be active consistently on all the channels, but do as much as you can. And start by promoting yourself on the channels that you use regularly. So if you are always on Facebook, if you understand how Facebook works and what people want to see on Facebook, start by creating your Facebook page, creating a Facebook group, and interacting about your Kickstarter that way. If you always use Twitter, start with Twitter. If you always use Instagram, start with Instagram. Because that way you're going to be putting out content that people want to engage with. If you start by using a platform that you don't understand, you're not going to be consistent with the messaging and with that community, and you're just going to fall flat. So I know personally I use Facebook most of the time, and I occasionally use Twitter. So I had to make a personal Instagram account, find people to follow, pay attention, analyze, why do I follow this person? Why did I unfollow that person? Why did I unlike this Facebook page? Why do I want to see this person's posts and make sure they're in my timeline? All of that, you need to look at your own behaviors and try to figure out what works on every platform, because every platform has its own vibe and its own content that works well. So for example, if you're on Instagram, you need to curate your photos. Like, you need super high quality, gorgeous photos on Instagram, because otherwise you will just not be noticed. Whereas if you're on Facebook or Twitter, you can get away with subpar quality photos, but Facebook you'll do best if the posts are humorous, if you post memes, if you post news and updates and announcements and those kinds of things. Twitter, you'll do best if you're constantly engaging, if you're having conversations with your followers rather than just having a one-way, just shouting at people saying, buy this thing, follow this thing, look at what I'm making. So everything has its own way that you have to interact with it. So I think that's what you have to get familiar. If you don't use a social media platform, figure out how to use it before you go out there and start promoting yourself. Board Game Geek is also obviously a really huge one to be active on, so as soon as you can, have something up about your game. Submit a board game listing, have people be able to go there to follow the page, to see photos, to see the information. As soon as you have all the information that you need, submit that and get that up there. Because everywhere you can be listed, because not everyone will use Facebook, but not everyone will use BGG, not everyone will use Twitter. So the more places you are, the more likely you're going to get seen by any one person. And that's really the key as well, is just be everywhere. Be unmissable, right? Not in a spammy way, but make sure that wherever someone could be looking for information about your game, make sure that you're there without them having to go hunting. Make sure you have a website that's easy to find. Make sure that if you Google your company name or your board game name, that you show up. The easier you are to find, the more people are going to be able to follow your project, to be able to find you, to be able to keep up to date. And that's what you really want if you want to start building this community of, especially if you're just starting out, if you're just showing a prototype and playtesting, you want to build this community of ambassadors who can come together around your game, be excited for it, and help spread the word about it. So the easier it is for them to find you and engage with you, the more people you will get excited about your product. The other thing you want to look at, as I said, is what to post. So you need to look at what is awesome about my game and how do I convey that to people. So you don't want to just be posting in a Facebook group saying, hey, check out my Kickstarter, because you get 100 of those a day. You need to, if you're going to post a link in a Facebook group, first make sure you're following the rules. Make sure you're not, if they say only post once a month, only post once a month, or you're going to get kicked out. Make sure you're engaging with that community other than posting your own content. Make sure you're interacting, commenting on other people's stuff. Make sure you're posting stuff not related to your own business or your own board game. And all of that will essentially give you cred and give you the ability to post about your own stuff in the future. And more people will also look up to you as not just someone trying to sell them a product, but as a contributor within the community. And that's super, super important. I seriously recommend to anyone who hasn't to read Jamie Stegmaier's book on crowdfunding. It's got incredibly valuable advice in there just about how to, whatever you're doing, if you're going to crowdfund your game, make sure everything you're doing is putting the people you're making it for first. So you need to always be thinking about the community you're making your product for. It's not enough to just make a good product. You need to also sell it to them respectfully and engage with them rather than just talking at them and expecting them to throw money at you. So yeah, I think that's kind of my summary of the different types of social media you can use, how to pitch yourself, how to kind of get yourself out there. I would also say, as I said, have a website that you can find easily and have a newsletter that people can sign up to, because that having people being able to consolidate, not just in a social media following, but having something that's they're definitely going to see as soon as you click that send button, because Facebook algorithms are awful. Instagram algorithms will probably become awful since Facebook owns them. So the only really reliable way of knowing someone has seen your content is getting them a newsletter or being able to send them something directly like that. So get a newsletter up as well, and make sure, send them sneak peeks, send them information they can't otherwise get, give them incentive to sign up to your newsletter rather than just, updating them about their game or reminding them to back your Kickstarter. Make sure you have things in there that, again, respect them as people, as your backers, as the people who are making your dream happen, right? They're not just consumers. They're not just wallets. And I think, overall, whenever you're doing, whether it's social media, whether it's sponsored ads, anything you're doing, I think that's the most important thing to consider. Yeah.